And happy Memorial Day here in the States. It's been a gorgeous weekend and it's a gorgeous day. We've got hummingbirds that have been hanging out and the turkeys in our backyard. And so life is coming back, which is wonderful. That's one of the things I love about spring is that I live in a place where I have a really wonderful diversity of plants and flowers and animals and unexpected things, and so it makes it really fun and magical. And so I'm really glad that you're able to be here with me. It's super cool. My name is Rita Hickman. I'm a body-mind expert and a shiatsu massage therapist. And I help women who are in narcissistic or toxic relationships really get aligned again, get their health back, get their sanity back, get their energy back, clear the brain fog, get back on track. One of the things that we're taught that keeps us trapped is we're led to believe that there's nothing we can do about the situation we're in or how we feel. That the only thing we can do is tolerate it because we've got no options and no choices. Now the reality is we have thousands of options and choices, but we can only think of some of them. And the ones that we think about are bad, and the ones that we know about seem too hard. But in reality, there's a whole process to how we grow up, how we become the sort of person that has amazing relationships, become the sort of person that attracts, success and people in our lives and fulfilling work and where we feel good. There's a lot of small little steps and tools that keep us healthy, and my job is I help women get to that space where they can really become the greatest version of who they're supposed to be. And it's very cool. So you aren't helpless, although you probably feel very helpless right now. So today's topic is about slander. I had someone in a narcissist coaching group that I have, and she asked the question, or she made the statement. She said, well, I'm divorced, and my ex is slandering me to everybody. They've got a business they have to sort out in court, and here's this person that she loved, that mattered to her, that she sacrificed for and bent over backwards for and gave up quite a bit in order to have a relationship with, and now they're slandering her. Now they're saying things about money she's taken or stuff that she's done. It's a pretty difficult place to be in, and when somebody that you've given your heart to, even if it was in the past, somebody that you would never treat this way, treats you with slander. And she wanted to know what she can tell her friends as to why he's doing this, because she tries to explain to him, or explain to her friends that this is happening, and they don't believe her. They don't believe that she's being treated this way, or that she's overreacting, or that she's being melodramatic, and this stuff isn't really happening. That is one of the biggest problems with narcissists is because they have multiple sides of them, multiple dimensions. They show those different personalities, those different parts and pieces of them to different people. It's as if with each person they've got their very own unique dance. Because they're super good at reading people, they're super good at knowing what to say to get people to be on their side. Now I'm going to come at this not from the typical way that people approach narcissism. Most people approach narcissism with the narcissist as some evil, bad person that needs to be cut out of your life for forever. They've been manipulating you, they're out to get you. And that's a tough pill to swallow, because the narcissist that's in your life is somebody that you chose to be there. Somebody, even though they're your family, you chose to have a relationship with them, or they're a part of you, let's say. They carry your genes, so it's very difficult to believe that some of your genes are this cruel, insensitive, mean sort of personality. Or it's hard to understand that somebody that you cared about, who treated you so well, who treated you, like gold for a while, that you gave up things for, would do this to you. It's not fair, and it doesn't even make sense. Why? And being in the place of thinking that your intuition was so wrong, that your interpretation of this person was so wrong that you can never trust yourself ever again, to not betray yourself and put yourself in these situations. That's kind of a common thing that happens, unfortunately. So I'm going to come at narcissism from a little bit different angle. I'm going to come at narcissism from the point that you have got great intuition. You just didn't have as much experience about this mental health issue that you had hoped that you would have. You know, you didn't have enough experience around this sort of person that exists and what they were capable of and what they're possible of. You know, the narcissist, because of how they're wired and because of, you know, possibly PTSD or trauma that they're dealing with, in their brain they are very compartmentalized. Almost like a cable TV channel where you can turn to channel 5 or turn to channel 7. If you think of their brain like that, they're able to sort of turn to those different personalities too. Now, all of those personalities exist. It's not that they don't. They just only showed you the ones, the parts of themselves that you would like, the parts of themselves that that would attract you, that to them were a better version of themselves. That's what they gave you, and that's what you fell in love with. So you weren't correct. You weren't incorrect. You weren't wrong. You saw this deeper potential. You saw them at their best when they were bending over backwards to create this relationship with you, or to make up for something that they'd done. There's a weird triangle between, you know, especially child abuse, with the abusers to a child and the child. There's this whole crazy love-hate relationship where trauma bonding happens, and you end up extremely close to the person who would abuse you because that trauma bonding, and they would lose control and they would treat you in a certain way, and then there would be this level of, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then they come at you from a direction of either protection, you know, how to deflect blame, or, you know, all those little games that narcissists play. And they play them because they're trying to protect those parts of themselves that feel so hurt and so angry and so damaged. So when a narcissist is slandering you, typically what they're doing is protecting themselves. They've got these parts and pieces of them which are so out of control that they can't keep a handle on. Even though they try, even though they've got some skills and they're able to keep a handle in different situations, for whatever reason, for the person that they are treating badly or slandering, they no longer have that in their own mind's eye, that justification. And here's where the compartmentalization comes in again. When someone's in a place of fight or flight, when they're in a place of hurt, when their nervous system said, this is very dangerous, it takes them to the most dangerous place that they've ever been in. When you do come from trauma, when someone comes from trauma and they get triggered, you know, I've had women in my office who've given me horrific stories about the experiences that they've been forced to endure, you know, through life, either medical issues or whatever. And they're able to just be like, yeah, well, you know, it's just life. It's just the way that it is. But that woman, every time something triggers her nervous system, she will go back to the worst experience that she had. And the narcissist does the same thing. On an energetic level, they go back to the worst possible experience that they've ever had until they've actually worked on it and processed it through and gotten it out of their system and integrated it. Took it out of that little compartment in their body and their mind and brought it to the bigger mind, brought it to the larger mind. So when a narcissist is slandering you, the reason they're doing that is because they can't see you. They can't see you. They can't see you, the deeper you, the you that's cared, the you that's been there, the you that has been over backwards and sacrificed, the you that is suffering, the you that is giving everything that they have to be the best person that they can be. They don't see that. All they see and feel is the worst experience of their life that they've ever had. And so they go into a position where they say, that's never happening to me again, and I'm going to fight my way out of it. I'm going to do whatever I need to do, however I need to do it. I'm going to be manipulative if I have to be. I'm going to slander if I have to be. I'm going to fight back. I'm going to not only be on the defense, I'm going to be on the offense. I'm going to do whatever's necessary to protect myself from what I feel is a repeat of the worst experience I've ever had. These typically are the things that a narcissist or someone with a borderline personality or a toxic situation is going into. They're going into, I must protect myself at all costs. Now, this happens a lot with people who have trauma in their life, and a lot of us actually do. Who have these suppressed emotions of pain or fear that we've never felt safe enough to express. And so we keep them locked in this little box until something opens that box up. And when that box opens up, they're going to come out in the most protective way that they can consider. They're going to be emotionally abusive. They're going to be insensitive. They're going to make the other person seem crazy. They're going to attack. They're going to take all of the money out of the bank. They're going to do these really fear-based, irrational things, all while keeping, demonstrating or having this aura of control, this aura of that nothing bothers them. But in reality, when they're behaving that way, typically it's because they're triggered by something. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to feel really sorry for them, because clearly you've been through terrible PTSD and experiences, and you don't go into that horrific place of fight or flight. You don't take it out on other people. In fact, you very possibly may shrink and become smaller and become less than. But interestingly enough, although we may do that in some situations, when other people trigger us, when other people when it feels like somebody else deserves it and we're not scared, then we tend to exhibit those narcissistic behaviors too. Because when someone comes from a place of trauma, or they come from a place of health issues and mental health issues, they do not see reality. They don't see reality in a clear way. They see reality through all of these fears and all of these filters and beliefs and ideas about how reality works. They don't see you. And so when a narcissist is attacking you, or when a narcissist is slandering, when a narcissist is behaving in a crazy way, and your friends are like, they never behave that way around me. You must be being melodramatic again. I don't think you know what you're talking about. And even if they don't say those things, they may give off that energy. They may give off that idea because they haven't seen the big picture. So here you are, this person, in the middle of, someone who's acting out of their trauma, acting out of their anger and suppressed emotion and fear and need to protect themselves at all costs. And then you're dealing with people who want to be in denial because they really don't want to believe that these things exist because it could happen to them. They really don't want to believe that their intuition is so wrong. And their intuition wasn't. They only saw the parts and pieces that the narcissist showed them. But in reality, we're all big melting pots of ideas and beliefs and experiences. That's how our brain is. That's how our body is. We have the subconscious meeting, and the voices which are the loudest are the ones that typically win, are the ones that direct how we're going to behave. And if we're triggered, then how we're going to behave is we're going to get out of this at all costs. So you are the collateral damage for someone who is working through their deepest fears. And if you need to explain that to somebody, it's not about explaining, how crazy this person was, because other people will have a hard time believing you. It's about saying, you know what, I'm going through this, they're being triggered by their emotions. They see me as the enemy, which I'm completely not. They're trapped in how they feel. They feel hijacked. They cannot see, a bigger world that I'm not out to get them. And because they can't see through that fear, they can't see through that pain, they're reacting in a way that's crazy. Now, you can't necessarily stop them. When someone's in a triggered place, the best thing you can do is give them space to get over it, to be as neutral as possible. to recognize that they're having a mental health episode. If you think about their craziness as a mental health episode, then you can come at it from a place of compassion. It doesn't mean you try to fix it. It means that you look at it and you say, that's got to be a really tough way to live. They're dealing with the mental health issue. They have an undiagnosed chemical imbalance, possibly borderline personality disorder, which means that they behave in irrational, melodramatic, overdramatic ways based on, their fears and the past experiences that they have and the coping skills that they have. So your friends aren't going to see it, and you can say this to them. You can say, you know what, I know you don't see it, however, this is what's happening. Now, in a situation like this, the person who is more grounded, the person who is less reactionary about the situation in public to other people, is the one that tends to be most believed. Because people are reading energy. They're not reading thoughts or intention. In fact, many times they'll ignore the things that you say because they're reading your energy. So when you come across as angry and hurt over how you were treated, they're reading that you're the one that's overreacting. So when you deal with your own emotions around the subject, when you're able to get a little bit of distance and be like, you know what, this person, this narcissist is reacting in a way from their own irrational fears, and they can't control it. They're trying as hard as they can, but they can't control it. And so times when they feel vulnerable, or times when they feel their guard is down, that's when they show this internal struggle that they have. The more grounded you come across, as if you know what's going on, the more calm and centered that you come across to people in general, the more believable you are. You can deal with your emotions with people who are trained to deal with this. Me, a good psychologist. You have to look around to find people who know what they're talking about. But you need to do your healing work, this pain and this fear and this anger and this frustration with people who can understand you. People who know where you're coming from, who've been through it, who can help you through it. That's where you work through these feelings. That's where you work through all the stress and pain and frustration. Because out in the general world, people are either in denial that these things exist because they can't take it. Maybe they've been through abuse themselves. Maybe they've been abusive themselves, and they can't look at themselves clearly. Or they have no experience with it. And so what you're saying to them makes no sense, because they cannot comprehend why anybody would behave in such a destructive, awful way. And so because they can't comprehend it, then you must be the fault. It must be because of you, something you're doing, something you've done. They just can't comprehend it. So if you want to be understood, if you want to explain to people, a judge, if you want to explain to your friends or your family, hey, I'm going through this because they have an undiagnosed mental health issue, and so they see me as the enemy because I'm the safest person that they know, and they don't know how to get out of that place of fear, and the things that they're saying, the things that they're doing are irrational and crazy, but it's coming from their mental health challenge. That's where it's coming from. They're doing the best that they know how, and it's really hard. When you come at it from that point of view, from a little bit more rational and compassionate point of view, then the people around you will believe you much more than they would believe you when you're trying to move that painful, awful, traumatic emotion. We just want to be believed. I totally get it. We just want to be understood and heard and listened to. If I've learned anything from my background, it's that you have to, if you don't want to re-traumatize yourself, if you want to get the support that you're looking for, you have to look for people who are capable of giving it to you. You have to look for people who are in a place where they can give you the support that you need. And the people who aren't in that place, then they're not ready for the pain that you're feeling. They're not ready for the experience. They can't validate. They can't listen to you. They can't be there for you. They're not capable of it. That's what it comes down to. They as well are not capable of being the person that you need them to be. And it's nobody's fault. It's just the way that it is. And so you, in order to do your healing work, you have to look for people who are capable of being present for you. And they're out there. A lot of them are out there, but you have to specifically look for them. Otherwise, you're going to keep reaching out to people who are going to continue to blame you, who are going to continue to ask why, what you did to cause this, why it's your fault, you know, why this person is behaving in such a crazy way, why you're blowing up emotionally. It's not that your feelings and it's not that your experience is wrong. It's that you've been sharing them with the wrong people in a way that they can't understand. They have no idea what you're talking about. And if they do, because they've been through it, then they're not ready to look at it because it's too painful for them. They haven't worked through their healing process. They haven't worked through their healing of those wounds. So it's like they say, it's like the phrase, don't throw your pearls before swine. Same sort of thing. You have to look for the people who can be there for you. And then when you express yourself to other family or friends who don't get it, it needs to be from that rational place of, I'm dealing with someone who's struggling with a mental health imbalance because of brain chemistry and past trauma. And so when they feel relaxed, when they feel vulnerable, when they feel safe with somebody, then they behave in irrational ways, crazy ways, which are based on their fear, which has been built up over their lifetime. And then I just happen to be the target, and this is how they behave. You know, so if you need a way to explain it to people, that's a great way to explain it to people. It's rational, it's level, it brooks no argument. There's nothing you need to explain. You just flat out say, this is the situation. I'm not over emotional about it. We're dealing with it the best that we know how. I'm not the one with the problem. It's the narcissist with the problem. Okay, does all that make sense? And make sure and get back to everybody. Narcissists, please do, because that's where you do find people who can be supportive and loving and know what you're talking about. If you've already joined, invite people. And I look forward to us continuing to grow and evolve and create this beautiful community together, because we can't do it alone. And it's only people who've been through this, it's only people who've done their work or are doing their work that can really change the face of all of this anger and irrationality and pain that's everywhere, that we see everywhere in the world. We're the only ones who can help turn these things around. And the way that we turn them around is by doing our own work, working through our own emotions, detoxing those, learning different mindsets or belief systems, rewiring our nervous system, working through the PTSD and working through the things which are trapped in your body so that you can get to the other side of this. This is just a roadblock. It's a roadblock which you're going to walk through piece by piece, moment by moment. You're going to get there. And then on the other side of it is where you get the wisdom and the understanding and the centeredness and the groundedness, and where you really go from surviving and reacting to planning and thriving and creating a beautiful future for yourself, something that has meaningful relationships and connections with people. That's where you're going. But the way to get there is you have to do this work first, okay? But you're not alone, and you don't have to do it by yourself, and there's tons of tools, and you're going to get through it as long as you want to. All right? So I hope that was a pretty good answer if you're dealing with slander in the time being. And I hope you have a great rest of your Monday. I'll talk to you later. Bye.